As some of you may know, Boy and I have had our problems in the past. From constant torment and abuse to relentless berating and insults, I'm afraid I was a little hard on my boy in the past. And for that, I feel terrible. But you know what? This was no time for me to become a kind, loving father. If you don't remember, the mural in the last game prophesized my death, which unfortunately meant that one day, my poor little Atreus would be all on his own. So, in order to prepare him for that grim future, we were going through a training arc. I decided that as a final exam, I was going to make my son destroy all of Asgard by himself, and in the process, kill the all-powerful ruler of the realms, Odin. Anything less, and I'd be putting him up for adoption. So, would Atreus be able to do it, or would he disappoint me yet again? Let's find out. By the way, my Twitter's almost at 10,000 followers, so if we could hit that goal in the next 24 hours, I'd be happy. Now, to begin our training, I decided that hunting some animals would be a good start. I wasn't expecting much, but if Boy couldn't even do the bare minimum of hunting a simple deer, there was absolutely no hope for him. Well, apparently my son was a little better at killing than I gave him credit for. Things were off to a promising start. That is, until the sound of thunder could be heard in the distance. If that was who I thought it was, then the training arc was over before it even began. I mean, look at this idiot. A deer's one thing, but do you really think he'd be able to protect me from the God of Thunder? I was so dead. Anyway, after making it back home, we watched Atreus' pet die, went to bed, I had a heartwarming dream about my dead wife, and when I woke up, my son was gone. With what was coming next, I knew I had to find him. But unfortunately, before I could do that, I was ambushed by the bush people who were living in my backyard. Because I apparently couldn't lift a simple log without these people being out of the picture, I had no choice but to wipe them out. Thanks for ruining the run, you little So yeah, after slaughtering the entire bloodline of those poor people, I was finally able to make my way to the end of the path, and before I could even take 2 seconds to have a breather, I was attacked. Apparently, I had caught the attention of some massive bear, and it was clear he wasn't gonna let me go easy. Because my boy was still missing, I was forced to take the giant out with what little weapons I had. The bear was a fearsome opponent, and he did get a few good hits in here and there, but ultimately, he was nothing compared to what I was used to fighting. Right before I snapped that bear's neck, ending the fight once and for all, it transformed into my son. I couldn't believe it. What the hell was happening? I mean, I had just beaten my own child so badly. He went into a little coma. Nothing he wasn't used to, of course, but this time I didn't hold back even a little. After telling my traumatized son that he had just slipped on some ice and to not tell anyone about what had just happened, I decided it was time to go home. This was too much for my son. He wasn't ready for this. Not now. Or at least, that's what I thought before he corrected me. Apparently, I had missed some villagers during my little genocide, and my son took it upon himself to exterminate the rest of those people, all with a smile on his face. This concerned me a little since Boy was giving off some psychopath energy, but I was sure I was just overthinking things. My boy was normal, right? We got back home and went to rest, but before I could even catch a wink of sleep, the sound of thunder was at our doorstep. Oh God, was that Child Protective Services? How did they find me? Exactly? The God of Thunder invited himself into my house and told me that I had to give up my boy whether I liked it or not. Hell, even Odin came to back him up. They said it was in my son's best interest if he didn't stay with me anymore. They had seen everything with Odin's ravens and concluded that I wasn't fit to be a parent. Oh, so they had seen that? Okay, see, what they didn't know was that they had the total wrong idea. Sure, I may have nearly choked my son to death and had most likely given him multiple life-altering concussions, but as I tried explaining to them, I only beat my 14-year-old son into a coma in self-defense. The fight between me and Thor was a brutal one. We had some laughs, we had some tense moments, but overall, because my son wasn't available to help me out, there's not much to say. I had won the battle, and at least for now, my son's custody was secured. I should have been happy, but you know, Thor and Odin, they tried to take my child. I had been accused of being an abuser even though I was only defending myself. That was an insult I just couldn't forgive. I mean, they were treating me like I was some kind of bad guy. If my conviction wasn't strong before, it was now. The destruction of Asgard and all of its people was next on my to-do list, and I'd be getting my boy to do all of the dirty work. And so we were off. As Boy and I made our way through the backyard, we came across a mythical creature called the Huntress. And guess what? She was super easy. All I had to do was sit in the corner with my shield as Atreus whittled her down little by little. It was almost pathetic how easy she went down. The free loot was a great addition to my collection, and I was already so proud of my boy's progress. We continued on exploring the snow-covered lands, fighting some battles here and there, and finally— oh, Jesus Christ! Why was he just waiting there like that? What the f*** was that? So, yeah, since there wasn't much to be done in Midgard, we decided to follow Sindri to his house. I was a little uncomfortable with it, but we had no better options, so why not? Apparently, the giant known as Tyr knew a way to Asgard, and Sindri just so happened to have a lead on his location. Brock didn't think the boy had it in him to destroy all of Asgard, and although I agreed with him, we had no choice but to press on. Who knew when Thor and Odin would be back to take my boy? Even with his criticisms, Brock was willing to hook us up with some upgrades. And let me tell you, there was nothing. No upgrades for the boy to do more damage, no ways to improve his bow shooting speed. Hell, the only thing I could give him were completely useless cosmetics. Are you kidding me? Oh, God. It looked like this journey would be harder than I initially thought. Next on the list was Svartalfheim, the alleged place Tyr was being kept prisoner. Boy took out some little creatures, we took a leisurely stroll down the lake, and we were eventually able to make it to our first puzzle. It was Boy's time to shine. It was time for him to impress me.
Hey, a little help? No! Father! You're better than this!
Pull your weight or we go home.
What a disappointment. Soon after that, we were able to make it to the nearby dwarf settlement, and it was here Sindri gifted my boy with some sonic arrows, a deadly weapon that could blow anything away with just a few shots. As we continued making our way through Svartalfheim, we came across the second boss of the challenge that Atreus would be fighting in a 1v1, and that was the Dreki. The battle began, and for some reason, the guy was completely obsessed with me. I mean, he wanted me dead. I don't know what the hell I had done to piss it off, but it had some kind of personal vendetta against me. There wasn't much my son could learn if he just sat on the sidelines while I dodged and blocked the monster's every move, but clearly I had no other options. All I could do was run around that arena like some pathetic lobotomite until my son was able to whittle him down. The fight went on for a while, and at one point, my son was able to bring the creature to its knees. But there was a problem. He couldn't actually finish it off. No matter what we tried, no matter how many times the Dreki was brought to the brink of death, my boy just wasn't able to do the final blow like he did with the Huntress. So, being completely out of options, I charged ahead and executed the poor thing. But I mean, take a look at this, okay? Would you really say I was the one to kill it? Huh? I wouldn't. I mean, my son literally went psycho on it at the end, man. I mean, come on, that's his kill, not mine. As happy as I was about that small victory, my optimism would be completely shattered when we got to the cart tracks. During this relaxing little ride, Atreus and I were suddenly attacked, and there was nothing I could do but take the abuse as I waited for my son to step in. But of course, that time never came. A disappointment as usual. The end of our little joyride brought us to the mines, which was exactly where Tyr was supposed to be. We took out some enemies, did some more looting, and somehow came face to face with the man himself. And I gotta say, I wasn't impressed. He was a complete coward, and after seeing the severed head on my belt, the guy decided I was a psychopath and took off. Judgy much? Hello? In the commotion, my idiot son decided to chase after the guy and left me alone to fend for myself. I tried to run to the end of the area before the enemies could catch up to me, but it was no use. Like usual, there was no way to escape without getting blood on my hands. After making it out of that unfortunate situation, I was able to meet up with Atreus and Tyr again, and I decided it was time to pull out my trump card. That being to passionately kiss Tyr in front of my underage son if he didn't decide to help us.
Stay away!
It worked! Thank God. We now had a way to Asgard, or at least that's what we thought. But Tyr had been so traumatized, he barely even remembered who he was anymore, let alone some secret path to Asgard. Okay, so we were back to square one. We returned to Sindri's house to chill with the boys until we had a better plan. It was then I was transferred into my son's body, and he and Sindri decided it was time to get up to some mischief. So obviously, because this whole sequence was able to be beaten boy only, I'll just quickly sum up what happened. I broke my hand trying to open a chest, killed some monsters, spoke to Jormungandr, threw a snowball, almost got killed by Freya after gifting her the arrowhead that had killed her son, and finally returned back home. At the dinner table, we all brainstormed on a way to get to Asgard. Tyr's knowledge was a complete dead end, and unfortunately, no one had any better ideas. But then, all of a sudden, I had an idea. Alfheim. If we could somehow break into the Shrine of Groa, there was sure to be some information on the future, which would definitely give us an idea on how to get to Asgard. It was a brilliant plan, and we were to set off immediately. Alfheim wasn't a terribly difficult place to get through. I mean, sure, it was extremely annoying and time-consuming, but as long as I had some patience, Boy was able to get through each fight all by himself. At least, until we got to Alva. At first, things seemed to be going well. My boy was out on the front lines doing his absolute best to protect me, and I couldn't have been prouder. But then, out of nowhere, the Elf Queen regenerated a bunch of her health and got back into the fight. We were dealing with another Dreki situation. So, taking the L like a man, I got my boy to do as much as he could, allowed him to do the final blow, and then I took over from there. Right after that was when we got to Groa's Shrine, and inside, we were only given one hint. Ironwood. Okay, so, yeah, we went back home, I guess. During that night's dinner, I got fed up with Atreus over his inability to kill bosses.
Pull your weight or we go home.
He didn't take very kindly to that and went to have a temper tantrum in his room. And yet again, I was transferred to his body. I woke up in a wacky place and started to question my sanity. Were these the effects of the multiple concussions I'd sustained the other day? No. This was something different. It wasn't long before I came across a girl named Angrboda, and she told me I had been teleported to Ironwood. Seemed a little convenient to me, but hey, I wasn't complaining. As Angrboda and I made our way through that unfamiliar land, I saw a big wooden structure and decided to impress her by breaking it with my ass. Things were going well, and I was having a jolly old time. But then, all of a sudden, I was attacked. So, I was in a bit of a pickle. See, Angrboda was off limits because she wasn't boy, but because my little man muscles hadn't fully developed past the point of puberty, I was stuck in a flirting match with that guy. I told Angrboda that I had it handled and that I didn't need her help at all, okay? I could handle it. But after 10 minutes of this, I finally threw in the towel and allowed her to help me. It wasn't my proudest moment, but at least I was still alive. Then, Angrboda challenged me to a race, but began with a massive head start. This wouldn't have been a problem normally, but because I lost, I made it a problem. I mean, she only won because she cheated. So yeah, we did some more stuff. We rode on Angrboda's pet yak, fought some demons, and then I picked some fruits. Then I picked more fruits, and then I picked more fruits. Then I picked a tree root. I did this on repeat for a fucking hour. God, I wanted to die so badly. Well, I was in luck, because that's when Angrboda's grandma showed up and kidnapped a poor little wolf. Finally, some action! Holy fuck, man. Following her grandma's trail, we came to a giant house, and inside that house was a giant woman. It was Angrboda's grandma Gryla, and she really seemed like she hated her life. I mean, I didn't blame her. I'd only been in that hellhole for an hour and I already wanted to throw myself from the nearest building, so I couldn't imagine living an entire lifetime there. Regardless, the wolf needed to be saved, and so the battle began. Angrboda and I were able to make our way under the kitchen counter, which ended up leaving Gryla with no way to catch us. I taunted her a bit and tried to give her a kiss on the nose, but I was a bit too slow. Then I made some funny faces to taunt her even more, but I realized this was really pissing her off, so I decided to leave. We crawled through Gryla's walls before finally deciding that beating her up would probably be our best option. I didn't enjoy beating up old people, but I also wasn't against it. So, after pelting that old woman with my magical arrows and smashing her shins with my bow, we were able to steal her favorite bowl from her and shatter it into a million pieces. She now had nothing to live for. A job well done. I decided that I had caused enough mischief in this realm and that it was time to leave. I said goodbye to Angrboda, took a little nap, woke up in my old house, took out all the enemies in the front yard, and got to the teleporter before Kratos was able to— Oh, Jesus Christ!
Who's keeping you safe?
I do not need you to protect me.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Boy, protect me. My son was able to take out the Hellwalkers easily enough, but before we were able to celebrate, a Valkyrie came crashing down from the heavens and tried to murder me. Not knowing what the hell was happening, I had Atreus attack the psychopath until I could figure out what was going on. The Valkyrie was relentless, and it took a while to whittle her down because of my son's arrow cooldown, but eventually we were able to take her out. It was then a realization came over me. This Valkyrie was Freya. She somehow got the upper hand on me, and right before cutting my head off, Atreus turned into his bear form and attacked. I took over from there, swiftly giving the boy 2 elbows to the head to knock him out. I tried telling the boy that what he was doing was unacceptable. Freya was our friend, our family, and using violence against one of your family members for any reason was wrong. As I tended to the fresh wounds I'd just given my son, Freya seemed to have a change of heart and told me she'd reconsider killing me if I freed her from the realm curse she was under. This was great! Not only because Freya was super hot, but also because I didn't have to deal with my boy for the next few hours. But wait, Freya wasn't boy. Was this gonna be a problem? Well, I'm gonna leave it there because I'm not trying to make this another 30-minute video, okay? So, will boy be able to continue protecting me to the very end, or will everything fall apart in the next episode? Part 2 will be out next, so subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, I hope you boys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.